Hey guys, Lee from Overbite Gaming here, and welcome to the second part of my Star Trek video. If you haven't seen the first part, go back and watch this. We've hit 2000s and we're going to move right along talking about some Star Trek games. First, we have in 2000, Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. Now, Klingon Honor Guard was quite a good first-person shooter. Star Trek Voyager Elite Force is an excellent first-person shooter. Voyager is probably my least favourite Star Trek show, but it's a very good game. I mean, you start off fighting the Borg with this new gun called an iMod, presumably not by Apple, but you never know. I bet they're just as horrible in the utopian future of Star Trek. And that sort of modulates itself, so you've got like the one gun that's actually effective on the Borg all the time. And it goes through, you get a whole bunch of weapons and stuff, and you battle space pirates, and then there's a big boss fight at the end. And it's super cool. And you basically, I think it's called the Hazard Squad. You're like this, sort of like the Makos were on Star Trek Enterprise. It's pretty damn good, and I loved it. I think it's done by Raven Software, who I think did the Heretic series as well. Check it out.
550.8. With the Dominion War over,
Star Trek Amada, same year, 2000. It's basically an RTS with a Star Trek license in space. So you have your mining and all that stuff. You have your recognizable ships. Like, I think this was the first time I ever saw an Akira and Steamrunner classes in games. Because like the Steamrunner is like your long-range bombardment class and stuff like that. And your Akira was originally supposed to be like a carrier. Like a fly-through shuttle bay, but it really doesn't get used in that capacity in any of the alpha canon. But yeah, it's actually a really good game. It's got a pretty epic intro. You can play different races, which is cool. And, you know, you got all the captains, your Picard's there and whatnot, and he's telling you and all that. It's good. The second one I didn't like quite as much. It overcomplicated it. I'm not going to actually have this one on this list because I didn't play it anywhere near as much as I did the first one, so I can't remember it as well. But I do remember it had like the homeworld elevation thing, and I'm just like, why overcomplicate it? The first one was great. You should have just made more of that with better graphics. Then we have one which I do remember, but not as well, because it is one of the worst ones to try and get running on a modern system, and that is DS9 Dominion Wars. Came out in 2001. Worked, from what I can remember, a little bit like Starfleet Command, and you had like a group of ships that you could use, and obviously it was set in the Dominion Wars, so you had the Defiant and stuff like that, which was cool. And you know, the Dominion Wars is easily my favourite part of Trek, no doubt about it. It was just so epic, and the story was told so well. And playing a game set in that is just absolutely just crack for me. But it was quite a difficult game, as I recall, and I didn't get too far in it, unfortunately. And that came out in, I don't know if I said, but it's 2001. Now we come to my absolute favourite Star Trek game ever. Well, for now. And that came out in 2002, and it is Star Trek Bridge Commander. I love this game. It is so good. So you're a first officer on a Galaxy-class starship. You get given control right at the start of the game. Picard comes in and tells you how to do a few bits and bobs and sits next to you for a while, which is cool. And my boy Picard, which you can like have a look around the bridge, and there's like, oh, there's Picard over there. That's pretty cool. It's quite automated. It's as automated as you want to make it. Basically, you can let your bridge crew like handle the combat, and to some extent it's navigation. You just click on them and give them an order. So you can play it from like a strategic standpoint, or you can actually like go into the battles and take direct control of the Enterprise. Not the Enterprise, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a Galaxy-class starship. You do get upgraded to a Sovereign later on in the game, which gives you quantum torpedoes, which are obviously a lot more powerful and blow up Cardassians quite a lot better. It's basically about a rogue faction of Cardassians that have allied with yet again another race that they made up for the game that's pretty bad, but Cardassians, at least we get to shoot them, so I'll take that. The space combat's really good. You can do it through like an external camera view, or you can just watch on the bridge view. I actually prefer the bridge view. It just seems more it's more immersive to me. I mean, I do generally use the crew to fight anyway and just give them like orders. So I don't really need the third person view because that's more relevant if you like flying the damn thing around. There were a couple of stealth missions in it where you had to hide that I was terrible at, and it took me ages to get by each of them. It's kind of like the thing that just, every good game is that part you don't like, and that's that part for me. It's the sewer level of this game for me, but it's fantastic, and Data comes on board later and everything like that, and it is one that you can actually get to run on modern systems with a little bit of tinkering. So definitely check out Bridge Commander if you haven't. Starfleet Command 3 came out in 2002 as well. It's a very, very tactical sort of combat simulator. I never really got on with it. There was too much micromanaging for my personal taste. But there were a lot of factions, like the Orions were in it and stuff like that. So you had pirates and all sorts. And, you know, if you like your combat sort of very micromanaging, very tactical, and having to worry about a lot of stuff at the same time, it's the game for you. But for me, it was just too involved. It took a little bit of the fun away from me, basically. Like the stuff that's come before, and to a certain extent the stuff that's come after. Star Trek Legacy released in 2006, so 4 years later. They're starting to get a bit more gappy. And basically you go through like a storyline that covers all 4 TV shows. So you start off with Enterprise, the Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, blah blah blah. And you have all the captains are all voiced by the respective actors. I mean, Scott Bakula, I'm not going to get another chance to say it in this video, but I know Enterprise wasn't the greatest, although I think it's season 2, or is it season 3? The one with the Zindi storyline, that was fabulous. But Scott Bakula, if anyone had asked me prior to that, I'd have been, yes, Sam Beckett, he needs to be a Star Trek captain. And he was, so well happy. Plus, I like Beagles, so there. But yeah, it was very much similar. It was kind of like Starfleet Command, but it was a lot more arcadey. So you still had to worry about power settings and stuff like that, and locking on enemies and what have you. But it was a lot more fun. It was a lot more sort of, I don't want to say simple, but yeah, simple. I don't know if this was the case on like the console versions, but certainly on the PC versions, the targeting is a bit finicky on it. I don't know if that got patched out later on or what. I actually re-bought this game many moons later, like off of an Amazon seller or something, because I want to go back and play it again, and I was able to get it running on a modern system. So there's that. The targeting's still finicky, but just like, it's just good fun blowing shit up. Okay, another 4 years later, and 2010, and we have Star Trek Online. I like Star Trek Online. It's probably one of my favourite MMOs. I like this and I like the Old Republic. Those are probably my 2 favourites. I know. People are going to be like, yeah, fucking prick. But whatever. That's my taste. I can't undo it. I've put over 400 hours into it, I think. So, you know, fair bit. And they do release updates on the regular. So we've just had, you can now play as Jem'Hadar. There's a Discovery storyline, which, I'm not a big fan of like the show, but you know, some of the Federation ship designs are cool, and I like the sort of new phaser, sort of like pitter pattering rather than sort of beaming. I kind of like that. So it's mixed, but I mean, it does what most of it does. Is you have your like Federation and your Klingon storylines, and you just do a little bit as this other faction, and then you have to pick one of those to side with, and then all of a sudden you're just basically playing that campaign anyway. So it's a little bit, you're kind of like, well, I kind of wanted more Discovery ships, and you know, my weapons are getting better, so I'm ditching all the Discovery stuff and just using core universe stuff. So outside of those few initial missions that you did as a prologue, it doesn't really make any difference. But anyway, yeah, it's the ground combat's not great. I love the ship combat. The ship combat's a lot of fun. I love it. And obviously there's a whole hell of a lot of ships. Now there are a lot that are like you have to buy with Zen. and some of them are really expensive. And unless you spend actual real world money to purchase them, you can get it by mining dilithium, but it's really slow. And, the ships are prohibitively expensive if you're just getting it that way. So, there's the odd occasion where I've dropped 20 quid on it and just for a ship I wanted. But it is, the good thing is once you've bought that ship, it is unlocked across the account. It's not specific to that character. So once you've bought the ship, it's yours forever. You can use it on all your other characters that are eligible for it. So yes, if you want to spend money on it, it's up to you. But it is a free game, so at least they're not charging you £60 and then expecting you to pay for stuff like that, which a lot of games do nowadays. And the last game I'm going to talk about is Star Trek The Game from 2013, which was obviously a tie-in with the first... I don't know, it's probably closer to the release of the second Star Trek movie, isn't it? Into Darkness, because the first one came out in 2009. Not a fan of the JJ verse. I think the third movie is the best one of the three because it had more of those character interactions between the main three. And the first two, which is Into Darkness, was terrible, and I can sit here and pick the first one apart all day. It wasn't a bad movie, but I just wish it wasn't a Star Trek movie. Anyway, The Game. So you can play as Kirk or Spock, and it's like a buddy system. So whoever you don't play will be AI controlled, or a second player can control them. It's your bog standard third-person shooter, really. There's a few like tricordery elements to it, but it's not horrible. It's not great. It's just there. I kind of like the sort of phaser effects that they've got going on, and I like that you have a stun setting and a kill setting on it, and you get a specific mission where you're trying like not to kill people. There is some spaceship combat as well, but it's pretty much just a turret thing, so it's not great either. It's not as bad as like the Old Republic turret stuff. Not the Old Republic. Yes, the Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic. That's the one I want. Where it's just like an FMV that you're clicking on stuff. So it's not as bad as that, or indeed the Harbinger ones, because those were essentially the same. There's a little bit more to it, and it looks a little bit nicer, but it's still a turret section. It's kind of boring, and it does seem to be like potluck whether you survive them or not. Nah, whatever. It's a meh game for a meh movie, in my opinion. Now, there is one game that I haven't got on my list. I will talk about it just quickly, though, and that is Star Trek Bridge Crew. The main reason it didn't occur to me to put it on the list is I haven't played a whole bunch of it. I played some of the single-player stuff, but oh man, I have absolute nightmares trying to connect the damn thing and actually play with friends. I remember I tried to play it with Snare, and I almost put my Oculus Rift through the wall. I was so frustrated. Because I wear glasses, as you're aware, and they're just slightly too wide to go like directly into the Rift, so I have to kind of angle them in. So what I do is I take my glasses off, put them into the Rift headset, and then put the whole bunch over my head at once, which is fine. Except when your game not only wants to use your Oculus app, but also wants to use Uplay. And then you're having to deal with two lots of notifications going on at the same fucking time. And so every time I get a notification like, you need to do this. Okay, take it off, take my glasses out, put my glasses on, sort that out. Glasses back off, back in the Rift, everything on again. Bing, something else to do. Every time, and it was just such a frustrating experience. We literally spent about 20 minutes, and I must have taken the damn headset off about 40 times. I was so annoyed. It was untrue. However, it is a pretty cool game, I gotta say. The single-player stuff that I've played, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was set in the JJ verse. I know they brought out the original series bridge, so you can use that now. And I think I haven't played it in a while, but I think they've got a TNG bridge in there now as well, which is going to be, oh, yes, I must get back on that, I think. I've got a few more friends with it now as well, so maybe we should try and arrange something. That'd be pretty cool. Anyway, guys, that is basically my history of Star Trek games. We've had some moderates, and we've had some high points, and we've had some gut-busting frustrations. As before, I've catched the videos from where I can, just to give you an idea of the gameplay, because, like, Dominion Wars, I've tried for hours to get that sucker to run, and just no joy at all. it may not even be possible. You may need a vintage PC basically in order to do that, running 98 or whatever. Which is something which I am actually starting to consider getting together. It's not high on my list of things to do, but it'd be kind of cool to have one where I don't have to worry about trying to bodge it all the time. That'd be kind of nice. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know down below. Also, tell me about Star Trek games that you've played and which ones you've particularly enjoyed. I'm always ready to argue to the death that which Commander is the best. It also had a wicked multiplayer where you could play all sorts of stuff and loads of mods. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. Never mind. Anyway, guys, we release videos Wednesdays and Saturdays now. And Snares with you next week, so I'm sure he'll do something which will get many more views than this will. Because he likes being popular or something. I don't know. I never really got that. Meh. Take it easy, guys.